Well, hey, how are y'all doing? Okay, so we are painting a short, I call it the short cactus. So you got the tall, kind of Western looking you got kind of the tall Western cacti. Um, but this is a short, stubby one, kind of like a houseplant cactus. And I'm thinking we're gonna paint this one true to mock-up. So y'all know me, every once in a while I'll jazz it up and say, hey, let's get funky with it and paint it whatever color we want. But today we're gonna paint it pretty true to mock up. So I've already clipped off the old paint from my paint sponge because we're gonna be stenciling. Y'all come on and say, hey, tell me, hey, where you're watching from, what you're doing, what plans you got. It's the summer, so I'm so excited for us. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and start painting. In fact, movie magic here. I've already base coated everything. So I'm gonna move this one out of the way. And all this is one base coat of Hauser Light Sapphire. So we've got Hauser Light Sapphire mixed in with a little bit of white. You can tell that I've ghosted it out just a little bit. And then I've got Cactus Flower also ghosted out with white just a little bit. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Lori. Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Well, I knew where you were from, but how are y'all doing today? Okay, so like I said, we've base coated this is just one coat of each one. It's Hauser Light Green, Sapphire ghosted out or mixed in with a little bit of white, and Cactus Flower ghosted out with a little bit of white. All right, so I'm going to set those aside and we're going to work from the bottom layer up, okay? That's how I like to paint. I don't like to make things harder than they need to be. So I kind of look at my design and I'm like, okay, what thing needs to be painted first? What is furthest in the back of this design? So obviously this band right here of the planter is the thing closest to my face. So if this was a real 3D object and it was sitting nose to nose with me, what's touching my nose? This would probably be the thing closest to my face, right? So these two things are going to be furthest in the back. So I'm going to do one at a time. So let's go ahead and paint our cactus because it's the hardest thing. It's been a while. I was here last Thursday. Wasn't I? Was I? I think I was. Yes, because we painted this little gem. If y'all did not catch that live, I can link this in the comments. If you put the word cactus in the comments, I'll come back after the live and link everything that I talk about today. So it'll be like a buffet of links. It'll be so far we'll have in the buffet we'll have a link to this video and everything that goes with it. We'll also have a link to where you can get this template or JPEG or wooden blank. So I always call those the secret words. So the secret word for today is cactus. Anything that we talk about, so if you put the word cactus down in the comments, anything that we talk about, I will come back and link a buffet of different places that'll lead you to all the things that we talk about. So you just pick the link that's most important to you. All right, so I'm going to grab a paint towel. So this right here is just an old raggedy towel that I had from my bathroom, and I have just cut it into almost like tea towel size. And that's what I paint with. I don't like to use paper towels if I don't have to. I will use paper towels if I'm painting at like a paint party or something. But when I'm painting at home, I like reusable. So I use an old towel, or I'll buy a cute dish towel at the Dollar Tree and I just reuse that. In fact, I think I have one right here. It's my favorite one. It's my purple one. So let's get into painting. Okay, so we need Hauser Light. Okay, so we've got Hauser Light already base coated down. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Shaylin. All right, so we got Hauser medium. We're going to ghost it out a little bit with white. So when I say that, I'm going to put, there's my Hauser Light. I'm going to put a little bit of white off to the side. And if you haven't noticed, we have a garden stake here that I got from the hardware store. We're going to make this into a garden stake instead of a porch lantern attachment. I wanted to show you a little different ways to use these things, right? You don't always have to make it into a porch lantern attachment just because it's this size. Now, I am painting a 12-inch size today. Normally, I paint a 10-inch size when I do a smaller piece, but because I'm going to make it into a garden stake, I like them a little bigger. if I'm putting it in my actual garden. Now, if I'm putting this thing in a flower pot, I'm gonna make it according to the size of the flower pot, right? So I've got white and Hauser Light on my brush. Okay. And I'm just lazy painting this on. I'm not worried about getting it up into my flower pot, my flower up here. And honestly, I'm not even really worried about getting it into my sapphire. I can always come back and touch that up if I need to, or clean it up with baby wipes. I'm not worried about all that. Okay. I'm just putting I'm just kind of blending this in on the wood and letting the wood and the paint do all the work. Okay. So again, half and half. Let me see. Move your piece around to how you're comfortable. You do not have to paint north and south, having your piece just like this the entire time. In fact, let's go full table. That might help everybody a little bit. All right, so we've got this right here. Okay, so don't feel like you have to keep it north and south the entire time while you're painting. Okay, turn it to where you're comfortable. Our arms and our shoulders and all of the things were not meant to be stuck in one position like that. We were designed to move around. Okay, so here we go. Like I said, just kind of putting down a real fun, blended, messy layer of green and white. This is Hauser Light and White. Okay, now I'm going to do the center one. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the darker color towards the edge of this center section. I think I'm going to try and keep the white. That means I'm going to flip my brush over. This will be a real fun, almost a quick paint. This shouldn't take a whole lot of time. Now, where you can spend a good bit of time is this step right here, just kind of playing around with the messy painting, just getting those brush strokes just like you want them. But what I'm going to tell you is don't stress over it. Just get them kind of smooth. Once you get it smooth, let it be. Okay. See, just let it be. I do want it a little darker around this edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with just Hauser Light and just clean up my edges just a little bit. And like I said, don't stress over getting it in the blue. It's not that big of a deal in the long run, okay? This is one of my favorite ways to put down color, especially on something that's not a solid color. Think about a cactus, especially how round they are. They are not solid green, okay? I want you to look at a cactus, especially when it's out in the sun. There's some lighter, it's just like a watermelon. There's some lighter spots. There's some darker spots. It's got all different shades of green. Can you tell me how to recover your paint door hangers when you move paint tape that? Okay, so what I can tell you is how to prevent it. Usually when painter's tape pulls up layers of paint as you're painting, it's because a layer of paint underneath was not dry. Okay, so what I always recommend, and you painted with me long enough, you know the blow dryer is coming out at least some point. At some point, we're going to bust the blow dryer out. I do this with every layer, okay? The heat tool, I've got heat tools, I've got blow dryers, I have my heat tool. I have a heat tool that I use whenever I'm painting by myself because it dries, but it doesn't dry as fast as this thing. So I don't want to, like, whenever I paint with y'all, I don't like to waste your time. I like to be very respectful of your time. So I use this one because it dries a lot faster. So whenever painter's tape pulls up paint, it's typically because something's still damp, whether it's a couple layers under or it's the layer that you just painted. So I would be very, very careful if you intend to use anything with adhesives to to make sure everything's completely dry before you start putting the painter's tape down. But if you do end up making that with painter's tape, I would take your finger right here, dip it in some paint, and like finger paint it in, because what that'll do is that will blend in your colors as you're touching things up. Or take a Q-tip and kind of blend it in. I like to use my finger, because whenever I blend things in with my finger, it makes it look a little bit more natural, kind of like you're putting concealer or makeup on. It makes it look and it gives it a softer touch. Plus, you can kind of control how much paint you're putting on, because sometimes when you pull that painter's tape, and it almost creates a divot of paint whenever you peel paint away. So it can kind of fill in that divot of paint a little easier. All right, this one has some blue and some pink. So if I was painting this just green, that's how I would have painted it. After painting it like this, I would let everything completely dry, and then I would come. Ooh, look at that! I just moved wet paint. I would come back in and do my shading, which we are going to do today. Don't worry, we will be shading today. But I want you to look at this mock-up a little bit. There's some highlights of blue and highlights of pink in here. I'm going to show you. Now, I just showed you how to paint just straight up cactus, right? I'm going to go back in and paint it to where we paint in this pink and we paint in this blue. It's going to get a little messy. And if you're not comfortable with that, paint it straight green. There's no shame in that. It's going to look super cute regardless, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to get this out, okay? I'm going to get my spray bottle out. I will link this. If you put the word cactus in the comments, I will add this to the link buffet. This I get at Hobby Lobby. It's a very specific, you can also get them on Amazon. It's a fine mist. Like, it is fine mist. Like, it is barely their water. Catching you live for the first time in forever. Hey, Lauren. How are you doing? Are you going to Destin? Are you going to be there in Destin? Because I'm going to be there in Destin. Are you going to be there? Okay, so I've got my fine mister, and you can either put this down now and start laying down your paint, or you can take your brush. I'm just using a flat brush right now, guys. I'm not doing anything fancy. I am going to mix my white and my cactus flower. I am going to make a lighter shade of this, okay? I'm going to make a lighter shade. I call this ghosting it out. We're going to ghost out. That just means I'm adding white to something. We're going to ghost out the cactus flower. We're going to make a nice soft pink. Okay? Okay, the pink is going to be a highlight. The blue is technically a highlight. And these are just fun, whimsical colors, okay? So I'm going to wet my brush. It's not going to be sopping wet. It's just going to be damp. Okay, I'm going to wet my brush. Pick up a little bit of that pink. And this is going to get scary, y'all. It's going to get super scary. Okay, I'm going to throw that pink in there. And guess what? I'm going to spritz it down, and I'm going to move it around. Now, you can't do this if that green's not dry, okay? You cannot do this if that green's not dry. Don't like it, get a baby wipe. Wipe it out before it dries, okay? Now, if you look here, you see all these splotches? That's just water. That is just water. It's about to dry down. Watch, I'll kind of smooth that out. It's going to dry down, and you'll never see it, okay? Clean my brush. Let's go back in with some more pink. Let's go back in with some more pink. I'm doing this with... This is dry. I don't have any more water on here. I'm just going to start painting in with a little bit of pink. That ghosted out pink. And I'm making highlights, okay? So there we go. You can either clean your brush or just go back in with that pink that's already on your brush. I feel like there's a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm going to clear my brush off. I'm going to rinse it out. And I'm just going to kind of move this around. that pink is now what's really going to make it pop is whenever we put some blue on there. Add a little bit more pink. Okay. This is a fun one to just test drive. Like, just find some spare wood, or this really works best on wood. It does, like, doing this on canvas is going to be really hard because canvas has a lot of texture to it. But this is a lot of fun on some spare wood. Let it dry. Say it's not pink enough. No big deal. Let it dry. Don't try to work with what you've got, okay? Do one layer at a time. It's going to make it a little easier on you, okay? Finally on summer break. Yes, I'll be there. Well, we're technically not on summer break yet. Like, technically, we are. Like, this is summer break, but both my kids are in summer school. We've got one that is in voluntary summer school. Like, he decided he wanted to take a specific program, and he's getting half a credit to do it during the summer. And it's just a funsie, like, just for funsies. So he doesn't necessarily want it to be part of his full curriculum. So he's doing it. The school offered it. So he's, why not? Keeps him busy. He had some free time in June. And so it spans the entire month of June. And then my daughter, Raylyn, she needed summer school. She needed what they call the GAP program. It's going to bridge the gap and keep her, 3 months is a long time for a 6-year-old to be out of their routine. So she's doing the summer school, kindergarten summer school project. So I think, that's fun. So it's been, and honestly, it's given me some time to get some work done that normally when they're home, I feel guilty about doing. All right. So this was technically still wet enough that I did not have to add any water to that one. That one did just fine. What I am going to do is I'm going to clean my brush and dry it off and just kind of feather that out, just because I don't want a harsh brush stroke. So if you get a harsh brush stroke, like say at the start and stop of each stroke, just take a damp brush and just kind of feather it back into itself and feather it back into itself. I'm not too worried about this one up here because that flower is going to cover that. And that's soft enough. And this is perfect. Okay. So we've got our pink laid down. It's perfect. I want to move on. I say that I kind of want it to be a little pinker. Like, I'm serious. Like, this one needs to be a little, there we go. You're still going to be able to tell this is green, but these blue and pink streaks just give it a fun, whimsical look. Like I said, if it's not moving around for you, get your mister out, specifically your fine mister, like I've got, and spritz it. Okay, just give it a little spritz. It'll kind of turn it into watercolor. Hey, Lynn. I finally found my mister I bought. Now I need to use it. Yes, ma'am, you need to get in there and use it. All right, let me clean this pink paint up out of my blue. I'm just going to kind of take a wet brush and kind of erase it. All right, now let's blow dry. Remember, each step we need to blow dry. Okay, we need bone dry before we move on to something else. Wet paint and dry paint look totally different. So once you're satisfied with it wet, dry it down and make sure that that's what you want to lock in, because sometimes it'll dry down and you're like, that's not as bright as I wanted it to be. Things tend to dry half a shade darker. Remember how bright pink that was? See how once we dried it kind of muted down a little bit. Same with over here. In this center section, I'm still wanting it to be a little bit more vibrant. Just because it's the closest one to our face, so it really needs to be a little bit more exaggerated than these side ones. Okay, so let's grab, let's just do straight cactus flower. How about that? Okay, my brush was wet. This is without misting it, okay? But it needs to move around just a little bit more, so we're going to mist it. There we go. Okay, I'm going to mist it a little bit more and clean my brush because I want to, it's almost perfect, but I want to take a little bit away. So I don't want any paint on my brush. So I'm going to move it around. All this water is doing is just moving that paint around. It's breaking the paint up. So it's not like it's thinning it out, but it's also breaking it down to where the property of the paint has changed. I know that's real sciencey, but it's what's happening. So, and then again, we're just going to erase that right there. Now, blow dry it again, because I think I'm going to be happy with that. All right, so as we're blow drying, I want to remind y'all, if y'all did not see the announcement from, when was it? Wednesday? Was that yesterday? Good gosh, that was yesterday. We are doing a virtual paint party. It is free, okay? Y'all just, I'm going to put the link to this. It's called Sweet Summertime, and it's a virtual paint party. It's going to take place. It's going to take place June 9th. If you're going to catch it live, the replay will be indefinite, right? Like as long as Facebook will let me keep it up, it'll be up on Facebook. But the replay will always be there for you to come back and watch. But we are going to be painting a door hanger, and look how cute that ant is. A door hanger, a porch leaner attachment, or garden stake, however you want to do it, and a 6-piece garland. And we're going to paint, it's going to be 5 days long, but we're going to paint for 3 days with breaks in between so that you have time to catch up. But don't worry, you do not have to paint live with me, okay? You do not have to paint along with me because like I said, those replays are going to, just like these, they're going to be there for you to revisit and watch over and over and over again as you catch up or whenever you have time to do it. So even if you cannot catch it live, don't worry. You can do it at your leisure whenever you're ready. But if you want to grab the designs now and get your blanks ordered, say you want to order blanks for it, Home Creations, where we house all of our blank needs, they are the hub for all of our blanks, and they have absolutely amazing service. Home Creations does something really awesome for my bundles and for my paint studio because we do everything in a bundle. They offer a bundle set. It's a one-click to where you don't have to guess at sizes or anything. It's a one-click and it's a full bundle, and they'll ship it to you. Everything all in one big package. So the link for that will be in there as well. So if you put the word cactus, that will be it down in the comments. That will be provided in the link buffet as well. Like I said, the word cactus will get you a link to anything that we talk about today. You just pick the one that that you're looking for. So far, we're in the cactus link. It'll be the Sweet Summertime virtual paint party, which will give you the designs, the link to the designs, place to buy the blanks, and then whenever replays are available, it'll also have a link for each replay. So right now the replays are not available because we haven't done them yet, right? Okay. We have tinkered with that this entire time. I think we're ready though. Oh no, Kimberly, we got to figure out what's going on with that. We can fix that. I'm telling you, Nancy, these Mister bottles are amazing. They are one of my favorite painting tools that doesn't involve paint. And technically, it's not even intended for painting. That's intended for like messing with alcohol inks and watercolor, which is paint, but not our paint, right? Okay, now we're going to do the same thing, but with blue. We're going to take Provence Sky. So earlier we painted this Ghosted Out, that sapphire. It's one of my favorite blues to paint with. This is Provence Sky. This is a really good complementary blue. They do not clash. They complement each other very well. So we're going to put a little bit of Provence Sky, not a lot, okay? Again, that's a lot, so knock most of that off. We're just going to put a little bit in each section, okay, in the shape of the cactus. Okay, so clean my brush. Like I said, this is supposed to make our cactus look a little whimsical. Okay, that's a lot. I kind of want to take a little bit away, so I'm going to just clean my brush. And I'm going to keep cleaning my brush. And all that's doing is taking paint off of my brush. Every time I touch this, it's moving paint around. Okay, that's perfect. I love that. I am going to clean up the top just a little bit right here. I want to kind of clean that up. Clean my brush off. There we go. I don't want to cover my pink that I've put up there. I really want the blue to be concentrated down here. All right, again, we're going to do the same thing over here. Private Sky. Let's put it up here. Just see, I didn't put a whole lot. Clean my brush. I wish I could paint, but I've tried. I'm down in my back. It makes it worse sitting. Then I'm not able to walk. I know what you mean by sitting for too long. I get the same way. I don't like painting sitting down. It's just my only option for right now because I try not to get all my painting stuff in the way because I'm painting in my kitchen right now. This is my kitchen table. I don't like it. And yes, I'm with you. I get down in my back if I sit for too long, especially bent over like this painting. All right, so all I did was same thing as I've been doing. I put a little bit of paint down, cleaned my brush, and with a damp, clean brush, I've just kind of pushed that paint around. If it's not pushing around as much as you want it to, break out your mister and mist it down. Add some water to it, okay? What you don't want to do is add dirty paint water from your paint cup, right? We don't want to do that. And then I'm not able to walk around. So I banned from my crafting. That is sad. I'm so sorry, but I get it. You got to take care of yourself. And if you know the thing that's causing you harm, it's like, you got to tell yourself, no, it's almost like you're grounding yourself. Yeah, I totally get it. I get it. Okay, so bigger streak of blue. Remember, this center section needs to have a little bit more showmanship over here. So it's not moving as much as I want it to, and I don't want to incorporate dirty water. So I'm going to clean my brush, dry it off, add some clean spray bottle water. Okay, and remember, go in the shape of the cactus. Perfect. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's blow dry and lock it in. Remember, once we blow dry, we're locking it in and we can move on to our next step. If it was still wet, we risk the chance of running our hand through it and messing it up, smearing something, laying a brush over top of it and having it pull up paint. We don't want to do that. Okay, let's lock this in. And just for good measure, once we blow dry this, I'm going to leave it alone. And we're going to work on this down here a little bit. They're on the same plane. Okay, remember what I said? We're going to do this in layers. These are on the same layers. This is on a different layer. But these technically are on the same layer, right? They're the same distance behind this band right here. All right. Now, this down here, this is Cactus Flower. Oh, such a pretty dusty pink. I love it. Cactus Flower washed out or ghosted out with white, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this same color that we mixed. It's ghosted out with even more white right here. So there's Cactus Flower, there's white, and I have it ghosted out with even more white, okay? Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm just putting it on my makeup sponge. I'm going to see if I can grab it without making a mess. I didn't realize how buried this thing was. Come here. So I'm going to grab this stencil. And I will link this stencil in the link buffet after we're done live. I got this at Hobby Lobby. It's the Show Offs brand, okay? It's the Show Offs brand. Y'all know I love this brand of store-bought stencils. Now, I did talk to someone about getting stencils created a couple days ago, and I think we are officially in the talks. I think we're officially got a ball. Hopefully, y'all just cross your fingers, pray to Jesus, and like just hope that this is going to pan out, because I would love to have stencils added to the things that we can get, so that you can create things a little bit more true to the mock-ups, because otherwise you're just using what you got. And I'm all for using what you got, right? But if I can get you stencils, if we can get you stencils provided, then you can start creating things a little bit closer to what I show here, which is always fun. It's always fun. I know when I craft, especially in the beginning when I was crafting, following other people's, whether it was a scrapbook page, if I was baking a mini book. I love scrapbook paper, y'all. If I was doing anything crafty wise, if I was following someone else's lead, I always wanted it to look exactly like theirs. And now I don't stress over it as much, but sometimes I want to use the same products. And although this you can get, it's from Hobby Lobby. It's the Show Offs brand. Sometimes they don't have it in stock, whatever, right? But stencils is something that I've been wanting to add forever to our catalog. I have created stencils waiting for us to be able to provide. Like, I have a whole archive of stencil designs waiting for us. I was just waiting on the right person to say, hey, I can be your provider. Just like our blanks provider, right? We've got Home Creations. They provide amazing blanks for us. Like, I wanted the same situation to where it's a one click. You just click, you buy, and they ship it to you, right? Okay, I need more white. Ran out of white. Oh no, that was a lot of white. That was a lot of white. A little bit more white. There we go. So I'm just tapping the majority of this off of my sponge. I'm just waiting for it to get kind of tacky. We don't want our sponges to be sopping wet. So we just wait for them to be a little tacky as we pounce them. Now here's where I get real funny. You can go up into the blue. Don't worry. You just don't want to go crazy into the blue because you don't want to have to clean up too much. You can always paint over it. You can always paint over it. But you don't want to have to do a whole lot of touch up. So I'm just pouncing. I'm doing super light touches. No, I'm not really pushing down. I'm pouncing. Okay. Pick my hand up. I'm going to put my thumb over here so it holds my stencil down. Not letting it shift. It is bouncing, and that's kind of dangerous too, but I know I'm holding it down in one spot. It's going to be fine. Okay, I'm going to pick it up. Ta-da! Isn't it cute? All right, so this is not a continuous stencil, which means that you can lay it over, but you can kind of match up. You can kind of match up one end to the other to make it look seamless. Ta-da! All right, there we go. So that was the Show Offs. I think they call it just animal print because it has two different animal prints. You could have done zebra print too. Okay, so there's that. I'm a horrible stencil mama. I don't clean my stencils. Go ahead, put it in the comments. I'm horrible. I'm wasting. Nah. I've never had one really too gunky to where I couldn't use it. I do such a light layer of paint that you really don't, it doesn't interfere with the next 10 times I'm going to use that stencil. All right, so I'm just going to take my baby wipe. You don't have to do this step. I'm just going to try and wipe away as much as possible just to show you it's possible. Now, every time you do this, though, you're wiping away your base coat color. See, I wiped away blue. But don't worry. We were going to paint that anyways. But I wanted you to see if it was still wet, you could still wipe it away. Okay? Baby wipes are your friend. So we got sapphire and white. We're going to ghost this out just a little bit. Sapphire, and I've already got white on my palette. I'm going to use a smaller flat brush. You can also use an angle brush. Angles are my favorite, FYI. I tried making a stencil on my Explorer. It's not cutting all the way through. Any advice? Do I need a certain blade? All right, on the Explorer, you may want the deep cut blade. And make sure it's okay. So when you're setting it up, and I'm assuming you're using the Cricut Design Space because you're using an Explorer, and that's a Cricut device. If you use a deep cut blade, it's not necessary. You can do it with a regular blade. You're just going to do multiple passes, okay? I always do 2 passes no matter what, whenever I'm making any stencil. So I always make my blade do 2 passes, which means it goes over the design twice, okay, before it ever gets removed from the mat. So I do 2 passes. And the way that it knows to do 2 passes is that I ask it to do more pressure. I always ask it to do more pressure. It doesn't matter what stencil material I'm using, but for good measure, I like to set it to more pressure, and that will make it do 2 passes. And it will, and I use it depending on your stencil material. I use the acetate settings. I do acetate, more pressure. I don't always use a deep cut blade, but if it's still not cutting after you switch those settings, I would recommend your next step being getting a deep cut blade. But honestly, that deep cut blade is for like leather and things that are plushy. You really don't need it for something as thin as a stencil material. So I hope that helps. If that doesn't help, holler at me and we'll troubleshoot something else. All right, so there we go. There's our coat of ghosted out sapphire with white. Tempted for the first time yesterday to use a stencil I tried using a pouncer and it didn't. No, pouncers. Okay, so what she's talking about are okay, so I use makeup sponges, and I use very specific makeup sponges because they really do. I have some friends that use very specific ones from Amazon. I'm an instant gratification kind of girl. I go to Ulta often enough to get makeup. That's where I usually buy my makeup. She's talking about these. These have way too many holes in them. Like, look. I don't know if it'll show it on camera, but if you can see the holes, it's probably not going to end well. They're going to hold way too much paint. But if you use a makeup sponge that feels like memory foam, that's the feeling you're going for. It feels like memory foam. That's the consistency you want. You want it to be nice and firm, and you can't really see any kind of holes to the naked eye. No pores, none whatsoever. Try using the mouse and get the switch. Yes, so I get mine from Ulta. I used to get them from Dollar General, but it's really, they only carry like a package or 2 at a time. So it's hit and miss on if I was able to find them or not. But I get mine from Ulta, and it's just the Ulta brand. So you know what? I'll link it down in the comments. So if you put the word cactus, I'll link Ulta's makeup sponges, and I use them. I snipped this off right before we started. This was the green that I used on a previous project, and all I do is I just let it dry like this. I'll just set it off to the side, and I'll let it dry like that. And the next time I want to use it, I'll take a pair of scissors, snip it off, and I'm ready to go. Until it gets to about this line. Sorry, I thought there was someone screaming. It's a bird on my back porch just going crazy. Until it gets to about that line where they connect to each other, there's like a little, I don't know if you can see it. It's like a little rip apart line where you rip them apart. When it gets to that, that's when I start, it's probably time to get, I got good use out of that 10-cent max, maybe 5 cents worth of a thing, right? So, okay. Well, okay, let's blow dry. Let's lock that in. There we go. A lazy painter I am. I'm a lazy painter too. You notice I don't, like, we got all of that done without really a whole lot of effort. Now, if you notice, I did not paint these two little sections right here. We'll go back and we'll paint them khaki tan, which is the same color as the wood, basically. It's like your wood, but perfect. It's wood. It's the wood color. So we're going to let that dry. It's still a little patchy up here and cold. I'm going to come up here and base coat my cactus flower. So I'm going to do it straight from the bottle cactus flower. Okay. Straight from the bottle. I'm going to grab an angle brush. You can use a flat brush too, but this has some curves. So when I've got something curvy, I like to bust out an angle brush, especially if I'm going to have to get like a precise edge where these two things meet. I always prefer to use an angle brush. Okay, let's just fill that in, let it dry, and we'll come back in. We'll make it look more flowery. I'll teach you how to paint a simple, whimsical flower. Okay. Okay, so we're going to ghost this out even more, okay? So we're going to take some white. I'm going to add just a little bit of that sapphire blue. Okay, we're going to ghost it out even more, okay? So there's the color we mixed. There's the straight from the bottle, okay? There's straight from the bottle sapphire. There's the color that we mixed for here, okay? We want it to be even lighter, like at least 2 shades, right? So we're going to just sit here and add some white. And with our brush, I'm going to find the center, and I'm going to go straight down. Okay. I don't like that. Where's my baby wipe? I had a baby wipe out. There it is. I don't like it. We're going to, as long as it's wet, you can erase it. Okay. Don't stress. A super wet baby wipe, though, is the ticket to that. Okay. All right. Here we go. We're going to go down. And I'm going to do 2 widths of my brush. Okay. Again, get some white, some sapphire. Okay. Now, as I go out, I'm going to curve it. So I'm going to skip about a double width of my brush. I'm going to curve it ever so slightly, okay? This is not a straight line anymore. Just ever so slightly. Okay? You see how it's curved just a little bit? And then here, I'm just going to curve it to the shape of the edge. And it's going to look like this stripe kind of went off the edge because it's such a little stripe. It's going to look like this stripe goes around, right? Like it's going to continue around to the back. Same situation, okay? So I'm going to, there's the width of my brush. So right here, okay? Remember? Just a slight curve. Nothing drastic, right? Nothing drastic. I'm going to try and keep it to about 2 brush. The width of this, double width of this brush. They don't have to be perfect because it kind of looks hand painted, right? All right. Again, we're just going to kind of follow the curve of the planter here. So it's kind of straight right here and it curves down. That makes it look like these stripes venture all the way around this planter. Okay, there we go. That's a little much for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up with a baby wipe. Come back in with my brush. So you see how I just wiped that away? No big deal. I didn't like not stressing over the fact that I didn't like it. It was too wide. I just took my baby wipe while it was still wet. That's the key. You got to make sure it's still wet. Okay. Once that paint dries or starts to really get a good dry on it, it's kind of locked in. Okay. So now I'm going to go back in. There we go. There we go. Much better. Especially since we mixed this paint. You don't want it to be too terribly locked in. All right. Again, I don't like how this is right here. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Pick up our mixed paint. There we go. It was too curved. So don't feel like just because it's on the wood now that it's a done deal. It's locked in. See, much better, much better. I like that a lot better. I'm going to come back here, clean that up a little bit. In worst case scenario, say you get real close to the end and you're like, I just don't like how this looks. Sand it down. It doesn't have to be completely bare wood anymore. Just sand down all the ridges, paint it one solid base coat, and start over. This does not have to be set in stone. This should be fun. This should be relaxing. This should not cause anxiety. If it does, you need to walk away, take a breath, go for a walk, cook dinner, get you a snack. This should be fun. This should be a lot of fun. The second it's not fun, you need to take a break and go for a walk. Okay? It's just because you're overthinking it. And when you come back, I promise you, it's not going to look half as bad as you thought it did when you walked away. There we go. I love it. We're going to leave it alone. Let's see. I use my phone to access Design Space. It doesn't give me the option for my Explorer. My tablet doesn't support it. So is it better to get a laptop? Okay, I'll be quiet now and let you paint. You're not bugging me, Michelle. I've always used my tablet, to be honest. And it's given me, you may need to update Design Space. Look to see on your tablet. Look to see if there's an update for Design Space, because I promise you, I work from my iPad. That's the only way I use my Design Space 9 times out of 10. When it comes to the Cricut, I primarily use my iPad. So I bet you need to update Design Space. Let's see. Can you recap the online paint party? I only caught the tail end. Is Paint Studio offered that in the group? Yes. Paint Studio is, in fact, they've had it since, what, the 1st or the 2nd of the month? They've had all those designs, access to them. Some of them have already started painting them. They have everything. Anytime I do a paint party here, paint studio typically will have access to it way before the public ever sees it. So this is the virtual paint party. Now it will be free to the public too, but y'all just have to wait until the 19th when we get started. But you can go ahead and grab your designs now by just putting the word cactus in the comments. There's a door hanger, a porch leaner attachment, or you can do it like we're doing it today and make it a yard stake or a garden stake, and then a 6-piece garland. So put the word cactus in the comments and you'll get access to the links of where those are housed and where to find blanks. Okay, so we are practically done, minus our flower, and we'll get to shading as soon as we finish painting our flower, okay? So let's do a second base coat. This is what I call a wet coat because we're going to intentionally paint wet on this, but we need this to be a nice solid coat. I do have my angle brush still. Okay. Now I'm going to get some berry cobbler. So we're going to do a combination of cactus flower, berry cobbler, and white. Okay. Oh, I get what you're saying, Michelle. Yeah, in that case, yeah. Design Space on the phone is not as advanced as Design Space on a tablet or on a like a laptop. All right, so I've got half and half cactus flower and berry cobbler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a C shape, hold on. C shape. You want to do this while everything is still wet. All you're doing is kind of muddling these colors together. Okay. And we're going to come back into the middle and do a couple of petals. Okay. Smaller C's, to be honest. Okay. And that's all that took. It's just, you do like a C or a half a circle, skip a petal, do a C, skip a petal, do a C, and do it until you get all 5 petals put in. And then you come to the center and you just do smaller ones. You do about 3 of them and you've got your cactus flower. Okay. Alrighty. We are now at a point where we just need to start shading and then we're done. Okay. So let's throw, this is going to be a quick shading job because it's not going to take a lot to make this thing pop. That flower needs to dry though. I'm going to use a Ziploc bag. We're going to get super resourceful up in here. Y'all know me, I usually like to use wax paper, but I don't have, for some reason, I must have used every piece of wax paper that I had pre-cut. I like to cut them down into little square shapes, kind of the size of this snack bag. Okay, let's grab our angle brush, about a 1/2 inch angle. You could also use a flat brush, but I just prefer an angle brush. Okay, I like Royal and Lane Nickel brushes. I get that question all the time. We're going to break out the Hauser Medium. Okay, so we've been using Hauser Light this entire time when it comes to the green. We're breaking out the Hauser Medium. Okay, just a dot. You just need a dot when it comes to shading. Okay, so I have just a little bit on my brush. And I'm just going to kind of work it in. Okay, I'm going to take my spritz bottle. This is my favorite way to do this technique. And I'm going to spritz the section that I'm working in. All that's going to do is allow me to move this paint seamlessly without it building up in one spot too much. And you just keep spritzing as needed. The wood likes to soak up the water, and so does the paint. Once you get enough paint on here, sometimes the paint likes to soak it up too, that dry paint. There's just one spot up here that I need to kind of thin out. There we go. So all we're going to do is we're going to do that for each section of the cactus. We're just kind of outlining it, but not a like coloring book. We're just kind of outlining it. So I'm going to spritz right here. Okay. Just throwing some shadowy green on top of that pink. See how it kind of defined the shape there. I'm going to flip this over. We're going to blow dry that so that my hand's not running through wet paint. Now, you can dampen your brush every time if you want and just use a wet brush. I tend to contaminate my projects with dirty paint water too much because I don't get enough water out of my brush. All right, so I clean my brush just for good measure. Put some Hauser Medium on the toe of my brush, which is the long part of my angle brush. Again, a 1/2 inch angle. Oh, I forgot to, I just dropped my brush. I have a tendency to drop my brush a lot. My hands just forget how to do their job. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Remember, we started off with Hauser Light. So this Hauser Medium is just a couple of shades darker and in the same color family. They're not going to clash as that Hauser Light. Okay, there we go. Again, right here. Like I said, I love this spray bottle. It's my favorite little tool. My favorite little tool in my paint. My little paint arsenal. And it really helps you get the hang of shading like this. Instead of having to blend it while it's wet, this right here disperses just the lightest little layer of paint. And it helps you get that shadow effect without a whole lot of work or a whole lot of effort, really. All right, do you see all those paint splotches? Watch this. It's just water. It's just water. Okay, so red, white, and blue. For the whites, I would use a very light gray, like sky gray, okay? If you're using DecoArt paint, if you're using white, see all that water? It just disappeared. No more droplets. It was just water. So don't, like when you see it, don't freak out. I promise you, it's going to dry completely transparent. For the blue, depending on what blue you use, you can either bump up in a shade. So like if I was using Provence Sky, that like we did here, I would use Sapphire. Honestly, a Sapphire may be a little too drastic of a change. I would maybe mix in a little Sapphire with my Provence Sky. Okay. If I was using Provence Sky, I'd probably use something like navy blue. Yeah. Just play around with things. Red, okay, here's a little cheat sheet to red. My favorite red is Santa Red, right? It's my favorite red to use on everything. It's my go-to red. I like to use alizarin crimson for red, okay? If you want to do an additive, say you don't want to have multiple shades of paint to shade, what I recommend is learning complementary colors. So with greens, if you want a darker earthy green, add brown to it. If you want a darker vibrant green, add a bright blue to it. It's just playing around with some color combinations. I need to know what colors you're using to determine what I would recommend as a straight from the bottle shading color. Does that make sense? I hope that does. Okay. Okay, I'm going to add some water to the band, right? We're going to do the band now. I'm going to move my little shading. I'm going to do the bottom. Just be careful. It's just like outlining. But you're doing it with paint and you're moving that paint along. When you get to a curve, bring it in just a little bit. Don't make it as thin as everything else. Thicken that curve up a little bit. It's like cutting corners. This is the one time in your life you get to cut corners and it actually benefits you. I'm sorry. I make myself laugh. Cut that corner. Okay. Okay, remember, cut that corner. And just keep smoothing it out. If it's too harsh, water it down. Like take your spritzer, give it some more water. That water will help you move things around before it gets locked in. So once it dries, it's pretty locked in, but you can move it around. Okay. I like it. All right. Let's lock that in. Watch this water disappear. Y'all don't forget, if you're looking for the link to anything that we use today, whether it be the stencil at Hobby Lobby, where to find the blank cutout, how to sign up for the virtual paint party. It's a free virtual paint party. You get the designs, you get the tutorials. The tutorials will not start until June 19th, right? What else have we talked about? Paint Studio, all the things, right? So if you're looking for the link to something, put the word cactus down in the comments. I'll come back after the live and I'll give you a link buffet, and it's just like going to a food buffet. You just pick what you want, right? And ignore everything else. So you'll have the link to everything that we talked about today. If we mentioned something specific, I promise you it will be linked. The spritz bottle that I like to use at Hobby Lobby will be linked as well. I'm gonna use some. Well, no, I'll do that at the very end. I'll do that at the very end. All right, so straight from the bottle, cactus flower. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see what that looks like on this. I have a feeling we're gonna have to add some berry cobbler to that. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Straight from the bottle, cactus flower. I'm gonna show you how I mix these. So I go ahead and put the cactus flower on my brush. I come back over and I dip it in berry cobbler. And I just work it into the brush right there on the palette, okay? Let's spritz this. Again, there's a curve involved, so let's make sure that we cut the corner there. So that's me adding it just like I would for the rest of it. But for that curve, I'm going to cut the corner. I'm going to bring it in that second pass. Okay? So I'm going to bring it in. Just a little bit. Okay. And just kind of mess with it until you're happy with it. Okay. I'm happy with that. I'm going to spritz the rest of it. Come over here and pick up some more paint. I don't necessarily always have to dip it in the puddle of paint. Sometimes there's enough on my palette that I can work with it and spread it out. This time I'm going to have to dip it in. Okay. Remember, move your project around. Don't feel like you have to paint north and south the entire project. You're gonna drive yourself crazy doing that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm giving you permission. Don't do that. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna clean my brush off because I feel like I got it a little too heavy on that side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spritz it. All right. I'm gonna move that around. Move it around or even erase it off. You can kind of just move it around and feather it out just a little bit. And I like the way that looks. I'm gonna soften that up just a little bit. All I do is add some water and it helps me move that paint. It just softens the paint lines. There we go. Perfect. Now I feel like I need a little bit right here just because that comes out. So it's going to create just the skinniest shadow right there. Just the skinniest shadow. So I'm just going to pick up this color right here. Just whatever I have left over on my Ziploc bag here. Kind of like that better. I've never used a Ziploc bag before. And it's keeping my paint pretty wet and movable. Okay, let me spritz. It looks like I'm using a lot of water. I'm really not, y'all. I'm really not. It's a really fine mister. Okay, there we go. I'm going to be happy with that. All right, let's blow dry it. You're going to see all this water disappear. I saw the bag and I thought I missed it on the, oh no, you're good. You're good. You didn't miss anything. Hey, Miss Pam. Miss Pam from Texas. All right, everything, I'm just kind of feeling, everything's kind of dry to the touch, but this down here is still kind of cold. If it's cold, it's still wet. Even though it's dry to the touch and you can touch it and not get paint on your hands, it's dry to the touch, not bone dry. The second it gets bone dry is when it's not cold anymore. And that's really what you're looking for, is when it's not cold anymore. That means all layers of paint, every single layer that we put down, it has completely dried all the way through. Wait, I didn't see Miss Bonnie. Where's Miss Bonnie? I didn't see her. Is she in here? I must have missed her. Okay, it's finally warmed up. Okay, so I still need to paint these two little divots. You can leave them as bare wood, but I want to clean it up just a little bit. So see this little bit right here? I want to clean that up. So I'm just going to take, this is what I call my wood but better. Like, it looks like wood but better. It cleans everything up. It is khaki tan. I'm going to put it on the toe of my brush, and I'm just going to base coat. I'm not even going to shade or anything. I'm just going to kind of base coat that in. I'm using the toe of my brush to get a nice clean point. And like I said, I'm not going to shade it. I'm just going to leave it one solid color. There we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I'm going to add a little bit of white to that. I'm going to take a liner brush if I can find one. Let me get my, oh, I bet you this is a liner brush. Oh yeah, this is. Okay. Never mind. I'm lying. I'm not going to get my brush caddy out. I'm just going to get a random liner brush. Just a cheapy old liner brush. And I'm just going to get my, I'm just going to, there we go. I need to throw a center in there. I don't know if I like that as much, but we're going to leave it. Just some highlights on my flower. It's whatever. Whatever, Trevor. I'm going to blow dry that, and everything should be completely dry. I can seal this bad boy and get it ready for the garden. Now, I will say, this wood does not hold up too well to an open garden, like out in the elements. Where I'm going to put it in is in one of my flower pots. I'm going to put it, Raylyn has I think petunias in it. She has a little flower pot that has some pink, they're this color, they're so pretty, that have pink petunias in it, and it's adorable. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in that pot. That's on our back porch. So it's going to be protected from the elements. It's not going to get all messed up, and it'll last the whole season. Okay, so I'm going to take my Liquitex. I learned this from my friend, Miss Bonnie. Liquitex high gloss varnish. It doesn't have to be the high gloss. I just have the high gloss here. I just prefer glossy, okay? Unless it's going inside my house, I like glossy. So I'm just going to put a little bit. It doesn't take a lot, about a quarter size puddle. And honestly, we probably won't even use all of that. I'm going to take a clean flat brush. I typically use the same brush over and over again for sealer, but I can't find my sealer brush. I traveled with it, and now it's somewhere in my travel caddies, and I can't figure out which one. So I'm going to go north and south. I'm going to go north and south. So I like to go all in one direction with the sealer. So I'm going to do, and I do it in sections. So I'll do the pot, and then I'll do the cactus, and then I'll do the flower. Okay, I do everything north and south. And then when that dries, I'll come back and I'll do everything east to west. So that way it's getting 2 coats of sealer, right? It's getting 2 coats of sealer, but I'm also getting it from different angles. And that will help me cover the entire thing. Okay, so if I miss a spot, or if it, like right here, where it's real thin, I don't have to stress over that. When I come back in with the second coat, I'm most likely gonna catch that. Okay, so there's one coat. Let that dry. It dries so stinking fast that we're not gonna be here but a minute. I'm gonna help it along though. I'm gonna blow dry it. Only because I have to go get sweet little Raylyn here in just a second. I loved how this turned out. Now, if you wanted to have more definition, you can always bust out your paint pens and use either a 3M, probably a 3M paint pen, Posca paint pen, the size 3M, not the 5M. Use the 5 on this size would be way too bold. All right, we're gonna do another puddle of sealer. We're gonna turn it, and this, by going this way, we'll do the, we'll catch everything that we missed, okay? So like I said, I like to work in sections, so I'm going to paint or seal the entire cactus section, okay? I'm going to seal the entire cactus section. And I'm going to seal the flower, okay? I'll seal the band. And by working in sections like this, I'm less likely to miss a spot. It kind of makes me slow down a little bit because sometimes I can just whip this on and it not get every single thing. It's such a thin sealer and it dries so fast. It's so easy to kind of overlook, and I'm going to clean the edges up. Now, normally, I don't have one right now. I have it packed away. I need to get it out of my travel caddy. But I like to go around with either a very, very thick chisel tip paint pen or a furniture stain pen in black. And I like to go around the edges and clean up all the edges and make them all one color. You could also take a flat brush and kind of touch it up with a flat brush if you'd like to. Look how cute that turned out. Like, super duper cute. Yeah, Miss Bonnie had been telling me about Liquitex for probably a solid year, and I was so stuck on just spraying. It's so easy to just go outside and spray, but I live in Louisiana, so like there's times that the spray sealer just does not act right. When it's cold, the spray sealer will haze up on you, and there's no way to there's really no way to fix it. Sometimes you can't get the use of a whole bottle of spray sealer because it gets gunked up and it's really hard to clean the nozzle. So like she had been telling me about Liquitex for probably a solid year. It's what she uses at all her paint parties. And then one day I was in Joann's with her. I don't remember. I think I was. I don't remember. Maybe I was in Hobby Lobby with her. We had met up somewhere, and I bought it because I was physically with her. And I brought it home and I started using it, and I was like, I should have listened to her. Now the other, if you don't want to buy the Liquitex, I do like Minwax polyacrylic. I do like it. Now I will say polyacrylic, you get a lot more brush strokes. This Liquitex self-levels. It self-levels so nicely. It's so pretty. All right, so our last step is we're going to take, what size is this? I think this is just a 12-inch. I think it's a 12-inch garden stake, okay? I get these at you can get these at Home Depot, Lowe's. I have a local lumber yard right up here by my house that's locally owned. I buy all of these from them. And all you're going to do, let me bump back just a little bit. Oh, do I have that? I do. Give me just a second. It's like around on the other side of the table. I say it is. Yeah, it's right here. So I have a little pin nailer. Okay, I have a dual action pin nailer and staple gun, and this one I only use for pin nails or brad nails, right? So I use my other one. I don't like having to go in between, like switching them back and forth. So I just use pin nails in this one. I just like it. So I want you to see how far I'm going, about halfway up the design, okay? So I know that I'm going past the band of the planter. So if I put one somewhere around the band and somewhere around the bottom, I'm going to put at least two. You could also reinforce it with wood glue. I'm not going to because I don't feel like I need to, but you can, okay? And you're just going to center it north and south. So how I'm centering it is I'm taking this, I know this is a little crooked for you, but for me it's straight on. Like my belly is right here. I'm taking the flower and the stake and I'm lining them up, okay? So I'm going to take my nailer. Hold on, let me see what side they're on. They're on this side. Probably should have that marked. So I'm not going to be able to perfectly position it, but there goes one. And I'm probably going to put this in the blue too because it hides it so well that it wouldn't be horrible if it ended up in the pink. Now you could always take your finger and kind of touch up. And I'm lazy, so I'm going to take my, if you notice here, there's so many little divots. That's from me taking it and just pounding it in to make it smooth and flush. You can take a little teeny tiny hammer and do that as well. There we go. There's our garden stake. Isn't it super cute? And it's super cute. I love it. Okay, so I'm probably going to go throw this in the flower pot as I go and get little Miss Raylyn from summer school. If you enjoyed our project today, if you'd like to make more projects with us, hang out with us on Thursdays afternoons. We'll be here every Thursday at anywhere between 1 or 2, depending on what during the school year. It's a little crazy, so sometimes I get home a little later. But anywhere between 1 and 2, we start painting on Thursday afternoons. If you want a link to anything that we talked about, whether it be the stencil that we used, the spray bottle that I used, the paint list, I will also link the paint list, where to get this template or JPEG or wooden blank, anything. Just put the word cactus down in the comments, and after the live is over, I will come back and I will link all the things as a buffet. And just like at a restaurant, you just pick what you want and ignore the rest. All right, until we paint next time, I'll see you later. Bye.